Today I'm going to show you the assembly of this Certa flat fab block. This is the 3648 fab block by weldtables.com, and really like it. It was a fun project to weld it together, and the fitment of everything was just wonderful. So highly recommend this, and hopefully you enjoy this video. And if you've purchased one, perhaps this will be a good reference to show you how I did it. Yeah, so take care and enjoy the video. I think I might assemble it right on the forklift. So the owner, Dave from weldtables.com, mentioned that you could do it on a couple of 2x4s. So that tells me right there that you don't have to build it on a precision surface in order to keep this thing flat. So as long as you clamp it together properly, you should be doing just fine. So that's something I'm weighing when assembling this. And I've got this 5/8 diameter all thread, and I'm going to use that to kind of hold everything together, which you'll see. Interesting thing about this all thread was I got all of this for $5 many years ago. So it was something that was at a yard sale. My dad called me and he said, "Hey son, this guy's got all this all thread down here. He wants $50. Do you want it?" And I said, "Dad, I got so much crap right now. Tell him I'll give him $5, and if he wants a penny more, tell him no." And yeah, I got it for $5. So I've got a couple that are about, I think these are about 4 feet, and then these guys are about 5 feet long here. And this is the 36x48 fab block, so that's gonna be perfect. So I can have a couple, 2 long ones going through this end, holding everything together, and then a couple going across. So let's see what happens. Quickly, I'm just gonna go ahead and touch a couple of these areas where the tabs are gonna fit into. I don't see any burrs, but I'm doing it anyway. The nice thing about assembling it on something like this, maybe on some sawhorses or something, you can get underneath it and work. So you don't have to flip it over to put a nut or fastener on. Okay, found one burr. I'm just going to take the file here. Let me show you that burr. So I can show you what you might look out for. So that's just a little bead of molten steel that the laser left on there. So you can just take your file. Okay, that little burr is now gone. That's pretty cool that a small burr like that prevented it from sliding together. That speaks of the precision of these preps. There we go. Now, throw some fasteners on this thing to help kind of hold it together. Okay, now I've got my through bolts set, which is bringing me nice and tight on all my fitments with the tab and slot system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a couple of tacks. So we now have the short width taken care of, and that's tacked together. Now I've got only 2 of these long enough pieces of all thread to do this. So, excuse me, once I'm done tacking this, I'm going to have to go ahead and relocate these to the center. Before I do that, I'm going to throw these plates on the corners just to make sure fitment's good. Key note, you want this, you'll see that 3 of these have a 90-degree corner, then there's one with about a, I don't know, 5/8 radius or something. You want that, the one with the radius, to go towards the outside corner of your table, okay? I only know that because I watched the videos first. So these should pop right in. That's a nice tight fit. Now I've got those in place, I'm going to go ahead and get these tacks going. Your weld. So I don't want to have to reclamp after this. Okay, with that done, I've now got this side and the far side tacked. I'm going to go ahead and create some bolts so I can put them through here. So I'm going to take one of these pieces of all thread that's got damaged ends, and I'm going to make some bolts out of that guy. So this is a 6-inch tall table. So I'm going to make these maybe 8 inches or so. Be nice not having to thread so much nut on. So I'm going to bust out the portaband here. Make sure you guys got a good angle on this. It's my favorite tool for cutting metal. I mean, just super quick and handy. I think it's the most used tool in my shop. I use it for all kinds of different things. And it cuts through steel or aluminum really quick and without getting it really hot. Let's see if we can do this. And typically you can handle it with like one arm. I might even just tuck these into here. Kind of hold the work for me real quick. I'm going to cut off the damaged end. I give myself 7 inches total. After that, a little extra room. Okay, now I'm not going to bore you with this whole process, but basically these guys are going to come up through here and they're going to hold our plate on. Okay, and then we're going to put a nut obviously on the top. That way we can start getting this thing tacked down. Alrighty. Okay, we've now got these 7-inch bolts. I've got one in each corner of that bottom bracket, and that really seems to pull everything tight. I've checked my gaps all the way around this, and I feel comfortable tacking it in place. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple tacks on each one of these corner support plates or brackets, and then what I'm going to do is flip this bad boy over and check for some flatness. And I've cut a couple extra bolts, so once I tack these in place, I should be able to maybe just leave one in there and then create a
a couple of them just to hold down in the corners here. So I was thinking of putting, you know, one here and then one on the opposite side, and then maybe have a bracket kind of just holding that down, so I can make sure to keep this gap non-existent, which it already is. Everything's flat, which is pretty cool because I'm simply putting it on top of a couple of forklift forks. Let's go ahead and raise this thing up a little bit. Give you a better view. So I have a very slight gap here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I've got a second bolt I just put here. I haven't tightened it down yet. And I'm going to grab my wrench, snug that up, and hopefully that gets rid of it. There we go, no more gap. We can continue welding. This is the first time I've done overhead welding. I guess this isn't really that extreme, but it's still kind of fun to do for the first time. So I think I've just got one more corner left. Yeah, I try to keep this video short. You guys kind of see what's going on. The name of the game is keeping this flat. Okay, now it's time to start getting these interlocking pieces welded together. So let's do that. See, I've got a little bolt here, just kind of helping this out. I'm gonna weld through this joint 1 inch per Dave's recommendation, and then immediately go to the other side while it's still hot and do that. See if I can get you guys in on one of these shots. I don't know how well it's gonna show up. So I'm gonna make this kind of quick because I need to hit the other side while it's still hot, but I just wanted to show you I'm laying kind of a fat weld bead. I'm kind of walking it back and forth. It's probably not necessary to get this thick of a bead on here, but why not? So anyway, going downhill, technically I guess I'm pushing the puddle, yeah, it's gonna be a very, very strong joint there. Okay, I've got these welds done. Now it's about time to start thinking about flipping it over. Not sure how I'm gonna do it exactly, so just gonna try to figure it out. First things first, I'm just gonna see if it's feasible to do it by hand. It's not terribly bad doing it that way. Actually, if I did it on end like this, that would give me really good access to bolt it and everything. Okay, so I need to create something that's got a 2-inch spaced out 5/8 pair of holes. I probably said that kind of awkward, but anyway, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep this real simple because that's the kind of guy I am. But I'm just gonna make my first hole. Doesn't really matter where on this plate. I did that with the punch, obviously. This is a piece of sharpened high-speed steel. That's all it is. I ground it to a nice point on my grinder. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. Close is plenty good enough. So I've already got one hole punched, and I've got this little 6-inch ruler. And I set the other one 2 inches apart from that, and I punch it. Okay, now I've got a little 3/16 drill bit on the world's cheapest drill press ever, but I actually like this little guy. It works fine. Let me raise this table slightly. If you guys need a cheap drill press, this thing kicks butt. It's like 60 bucks at Harbor Freight. I recommend it. It's absolutely perfect for doing small things like this. Now I'm eventually gonna just use a unibit to bring this thing to diameter, but I'm going to step drill it first. Just to get it started. A little oil. Haha. Table's too far down. Probably not ideal. What you're hearing there is a lot of chatter. This drill bit's moving too fast. But I'm not going to adjust it because I beautiful. Okay, now it's time for the unibit. Okay, this is a unibit. It's about a $35 bit or so. It's not the Harbor Freight one. Okay, both holes are now complete. And I'll show you what we're doing.
take this plate, put that sucker here. And I can clamp the hell out of it and weld the other side. Okay, so now snug these suckers up, we can weld the other side. So again, we've got the center clamped. Well, this outside edge has got just a slight gap. So I'm putting these Irwin clamps on here, and that got rid of it. All right, now that we've got the table pretty much all welded together, it's time to get the stand built. All right, so I'm just kind of dry fitting all this together. You couldn't get this backwards if you tried, because the legs will only go into each one of these brackets one way. So you couldn't get the bottom and top ones reversed. That's good news for somebody like me. The fit, just like everything else in this table, is very, very good. So expect to have to tap it in lightly with a hammer, or mallet I should say. I guess this is a dead blow hammer. But yeah, just lightly tapping these guys on. And the good news is you get to basically assemble this thing right in its place. That one just slid on, perfect. So now I've got all these set. I'm gonna go ahead and start tacking this up. You've got your bolts for this thing. I don't see why you couldn't just bolt this sucker down, bolt this bracket down in place on all of them, and then do your tacking. I think that might make the most sense here. I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it on video because you guys know how to use nuts and bolts. Well, I've got that thing welded together, the stand. What I'm gonna do now on these areas, I just welded this solid on 2 of these tabs on each one of these. That's gonna be more than sufficient to hold these down. And I'm gonna go ahead and take my big grinder there and grind those welds, you know, flush. Okay, well, got this thing all bolted down to the casters. Let's see if we can stand this thing upright. Smart monkey. That wasn't so bad. Cool. Now I just need to dress the top of this and make sure none of my welds are past flush.